Hey friends, what's up? Phillip here with Points with Phillip, and I really just wanted to come and talk to you again about the Ritz Carlton credit card. Now, this has so many perks and it's such a powerful card, and the fact that it's a Visa Infinite card is really helpful as well for travel protections, which I've talked about in another video, which you can see above. Now, but one other thing that I haven't talked about too much is the Ritz Carlton Free Night Award that you get after your first card member year and every year after. But before we get into that, go ahead and please like and subscribe, and if you want to learn more immediately, please hit that bell icon as well. Now, the reason I'd ask you to do that is because, well, I want to know if what I'm doing is worth continuing to do, and I also want YouTube to know that what I'm doing is worth doing as well, and so that way more people can see this video. So thanks so much for helping me out, but now that we got that out of the way, let's get into the Ritz Carlton Free Night Award. So I want to talk about how much value it could actually be worth. So let's take a look at the top lines of this card. Now, the annual fee for the Ritz Carlton credit card through Chase is $450. Now, that can be a decent chunk of change, but let's take a look. So you get $300 annually for travel credit. This can be redeemed for flight incidentals and fees, but also I've heard that it can be used for other travel-related expenses, but you do need to call in, and your mileage may vary. So I've heard of some people being successful in with hotel stays or rental cars or things like that. Although I've heard some people say that it wasn't accepted. So that one's going to be kind of your mileage may vary, but the $300 travel credit goes a long way towards reducing that $450 annual fee. Now, so the other major point that you get with this card is an 85,000 point free night certificate after your first card member anniversary. So this card can also have really incredible travel protections, including lost luggage, reimbursement, trip cancellation, and more. Now, one other thing that's important to note about this card is it's not really that great on earnings because, well, it earns Marriott bonus or Marriott Bonvoy points. And so, well, I don't really value them that much, and they're kind of relatively easy to purchase. And so if I wanted to use points, I don't think I would really kind of start spending more on this card, if that makes sense. But let's get into the value we can get with that 85,000 point free night award. So now this is any room category as long as the point value is 85,000 points or less. Now you can also top with your existing Marriott points up to 100,000 points per night. So you can add 15,000 to any free night award certificate. And so that can help you increase that value. You can also stack this free night with other cards. For example, if you held the American Express Bonvoy Brilliant card, that also has an 85,000 point free night certificate. So you could have two of them each year by holding two different cards. And of course, some other cards like the Marriott Business card has a 35,000 point free night, as well as on the Chase side, the Bonvoy Boundless card. And so that also has 35,000. So you can kind of play around and kind of store these values. And so you'll know that you'll have a certain number of free night certificates every year just by holding these cards. So 85,000 points, that sounds like a lot, but it also sounds like it could not be a lot. Let's take a look at some examples. So the first example, I'm kind of cherry picking because, well, it's one of my favorite properties. Now, the Ritz Carlton Orlando Grand Lakes. So this is actually in Orlando, my hometown, and I decided to take a look at the night of Tuesday, May 20th across all of these examples just to kind of keep things equal, essentially, as equal as possible. So now the room rate for this, so first of all, the point of redemption for a king room with resort view, so that's a specific room category, that is 84,000 points. So we're not quite at that 85,000 point threshold. Now, let's take a look at the room rate for that. So that is going to be $855 per night with taxes. And so that's the same room category. Now, if you take a look at 84,000 points to save you that $855, that's about 1.017 cents per point. So that's actually doing really, really well for Marriott point values because most people say it's worth about a little bit more than half a cent a point. So we're doing pretty great, and we're saving almost $900 just by using that free night award. And remember, essentially we're purchasing that free night award for $150 because we're spending $450 for the annual fee, we're getting $300 back, and then we're getting that free night award, which we're essentially purchasing for $150. So for the $150 purchase, we earned this free night award. and then we got almost $900 worth of value. So we're getting ahead. Now, let's take a look at some other examples. So I decided to stay at the same the same chain, so the Ritz Carlton. Now, you don't actually have to use these points for Ritz Carlton nights, but, well, they tend to be higher, and so closer to the 85,000 point mark. And so, well, if you're going to use them, you might as well go big, right? So I picked out the Ritz Carlton Oahu in Turtle Bay. So this is in Hawaii, and this one was 94,000 points per night during May 20th. Now, this is for a partial ocean view / resort view on a lower floor king room. And so that is the room category. It is quite a big mouthful. But so anyway, just to let everybody know, that's what I'm looking at. So 94,000 points, May 20th, partial ocean view and resort view king room. So now you need to use your certificate plus another 9,000 points in order to meet that bar. But let's take a look at the cash rate. So the cash rate here is $1,000, $1,098 a night, including taxes. So this one is expensive, right? So this would get you basically with that cash rate and with that point requirement, it would be about 1.16 cents per point for the night. And so this again is much higher than the average Marriott value. So if you were staying there, you'd save almost $1,100 just by holding this card. And so if you have the Bonvoy Brilliant as well, you can get 2 free night certificates. And well, that can go a long way towards subsidizing your Hawaiian vacation. And so that's important to note. So let's get into the third example. So let's travel all the way from Hawaii to New York City. So let's take a look again on the night of May 20th, the Westin New York Grand Central. So the Westin properties, they're not the higher upper level, but they're better than, say, the Garden Inns or the Courtyards or something like that, right? Now let's take a look at the Deluxe King Room. So the Deluxe King Room is showing at 74,000 points per night for May 20th. Now the cash rate for that room is $949 a night. And so that point value is 1.28 cents per point. And so let me repeat that again, 1.28 cents per point for the Westin New York Grand Central for the night of May 20th. So that free night award, despite the fact that we're not at that 85,000 point night, we're saving almost $1,000 just by holding the card and having and using this free night certificate. So as you can see, without having to go to Bora Bora or all these other random exotic places, you're able to get real-world value on common vacation destinations for most Americans. So just by holding this card, you're able to not only get incredible travel protections, you're not only able to get wonderful customer service, but you're also able to get wonderful subsidies towards any vacations that you may realistically want to take. And so that's an important too to note that Marriott's footprint is massive, and so they have one of the largest footprints of any of the major hotel chains. And so if you're traveling somewhere, chances are you'll be able to use this free night certificate. Now, these are kind of cherry picking the best values, right? But you can use these to stay at somewhere in Richmond, Virginia, or Colorado, or somewhere else, right? You don't have to go to any of these 3 places. Now, I know some of you are thinking, and probably have already left for the comment section already, this is one night we're talking about, right? So we're talking about places that are $1,000 a night. Am I going to pay that $1,000 a night? Well, if you have the money, then sure, but you don't have to, right? So you can stay a 1 night or 2 nights if you have a couple different cards at different properties and get really, really good value from those properties, but then you can also finish your vacation at other trips, right? So a fellow credit card YouTuber, Ben Hedges, recently went to Hawaii with his family, and he actually stayed at the Fairmont Orchid, but then he also stayed at another Hilton property that essentially basically was I feel like it was a timeshare deal or something like that. So he was able to use his credits that he had with a different card, the Platinum card, to kind of subsidize his Hawaiian vacation and kind of make everything nice. And you can do the same here. So just because you're staying 1 or 2 nights at a high dollar resort property doesn't mean that's where you need to spend the rest of your vacation. But for the time that you're there, it can really kind of make your vacation feel, well, super special. So that's kind of how I've been using it. And that's how I would recommend you guys use it, just because you can use these to accentuate your stay. And so I've done that with my point stays in London and in Paris as well, where we used points to try and make sure that I was able to stay in nicer places for a short amount of time so I could stay and, kind of enjoy the entire trip. And that's kind of what I'm talking about here. So you're able to get real world value that's light years above the annual fee for this card just by holding it. And so, the Ritz Carlton continues to be one of my favorites in my wallet. And well, I think you should too. And if you believe it, basically, if you believe you need to get this card next, the first step you need to do is actually need to get a Chase Marriott card. So that would be the Chase Bold, the Chase Boundless, or the Chase, I think it's the Brilliant. And so one of those 3 Chase cards, you have to get that card, hold it for a year, and then you can product change into the Chase Ritz Carlton card. And so essentially, basically, that's what you need to work on. Now, the Chase Boundless card usually has the better free night sign-up bonuses and things like that. And so that was the path that I took to this card. And I think it could be a really great path for you guys as well. But anyway, thanks so much for joining me. I hope you like the Ritz Carlton card as much as I do. And well, I can't wait to see you again until next time. Bye.